Hi, welcome. My name's Alan Simpson, and in this video I'm going to talk about VS Code and why you should download and use it even if you're just getting started learning how to write code as an absolute beginner. It's totally free, won't cost you a penny, and you can get it for Mac, Windows, and Linux. One cool thing about it is that unlike a text editor, with VS Code you can open the whole folder of files that make up your website or whatever you're working on. And so you don't have to leave to get to those files, and also you can click any one of those file names to see what's in the file right within the editor. So that's a very handy feature right there, but there's a lot more. Another nice thing, especially if you're just learning how to write code, is the way it colors your code. For example, if I open up a web page, a .html file, the code opens up over on the right, and you can see there's different colors of things. Now at first that may not look like much, but in the long run it actually makes it much easier to find errors in your code because you start to notice where the colors don't look quite right once you get used to the color coding. I can give you an example of where that and some other things in VS Code make it easier to debug your code, that is to find errors in your code. So for example, let's say this page is giving me some trouble in the web browser. I look around, and when I go to the bottom I see these squiggly lines. A squiggly line, that's called linting, tells you there's something amiss at this point. To see what the problem is, just touch the mouse pointer to the tag with the squiggly line and you'll see an explanation. Here it's telling me that the tag must be paired. I'm missing /head, and that's way up on line 3, so something's wrong near the top. Now this closing body tag also has a squiggly underline. When I touch the mouse pointer to that, it says the tag must be paired. There is no start tag for the /body. So what did I miss? I could have sworn I typed those in, but those are up near the top of the page, so I got to run up there and see what's going on. When I get up there, I can see I do have the /head and body tags, but they're green. Only comments are green, not code. So let's see, where does this comment start? Oh, looks like maybe I forgot to end this comment that says title for browser window. So let me go end that comment with -- greater than. Now the colors are right again. And when I scroll down to the bottom, the squiggly lines are gone. So there you can see the color coding helped me identify where the problem is and helped me to solve the problem. Now, as you may know, many HTML tags come in pairs, and that's another place where VS Code makes it real easy to spot potential errors and see what might be wrong. For example, you see this little squiggly line under /OL? Again, the squiggly line means here or above here, something's wrong because this OL tag shouldn't be here. Okay, and so if I touch the mouse pointer to it, it says tag must be paired, no start tag. So it's telling me this /OL has no OL tag. But then I look up here and there's an OL tag right here. So what's wrong? If I click that OL tag, then I get some shading behind it, and so does its closing tag down here. So this shading tells me that these two tags form a pair at the beginning and end of an ordered list. So that must mean this closing tag doesn't go with anything. So that's just a mistake, and that's why it's showing the squiggly underline, so I'll just delete that. Another handy feature is that it's real easy to turn Wordwrap on and off. And that often helps when writing code for web pages, because sometimes you have big long passages of text, and if you don't Wordwrap, they go way over to the right, and if you're working on that text, it's a pain to scroll left and right. So if I come up to the View menu here and choose Toggle Wordwrap, or press Alt-Z, that turns Wordwrap on, so now I can see all that text without scrolling left and right and make whatever changes I want. And then when I'm done with that and I don't want to really look at that anymore, I can just press Alt-Z or go through the menu again and turn it back off. Now if you're a beginner, that might not seem like much, but as you get into larger and more complex web pages, it's actually very handy to be able to flip that Wordwrap on and off as convenient. Another super handy thing in VS Code is called code snippets. This is great, especially for first starting to learn, because it will type certain kinds of common code for you. For example, I'm going to create a new page here. I'll just call it test.html. All right, now I could start typing in all the mandatory tags, but if I type an exclamation point and press tab, it types in all these tags for me. Okay, so I didn't have to type any of that. It was that quick. Now, if you're still a little bit of an HTML beginner, some of those tags won't look familiar. Don't worry about it. They're not super important. What's important is that with code snippets, you can have VS Code do some of the typing for you. And what that does is it reduces the amount of typographical errors you make, which in turn then reduces the amount of time you have to spend going back and trying to find those errors. And another thing that helps you with your coding, even as a learner, is called Intellisense. It's called Intellisense because it senses what you're typing and tries to make intelligent suggestions about what you might want to type next. For example, I started typing an H tag and it lists all the tags that start with H in HTML. You can also configure it to automatically type the closing tag after the opening tag, which is a big help because that's an easy thing to forget. If you let it put it in automatically, then you can't forget it because it's already there. And it works with tags and attributes and stuff. For example, if I type image, IMG, that tells me what image is for. All right, and then I use source to say what the image is. Notice that I can also just click source in the list and it actually types the whole thing out for me with the src equal and the quotation marks already in place. So that's another big time saver because you make far fewer typos and spend less time looking for those typos in your code. Another super handy thing is called code formatting. And when you're first learning, it's really easy to get your code all messy and out of whack looking and stuff. It just looks like a big mess and it's hard to read. With code formatting, you just type a shortcut keystroke or make a menu choice or something, and it whips it right into shape where all the tags inside an opening and closing tag are indented. And that just makes it easier to see where each block that has a start and end tag begins and ends in your code. You'll find over time that the code is just easier to work with when it's nice and organized like that. Another nice feature is that you can choose a color scheme for your editor. For example, maybe you don't like this color text on a white background. I can click color theme here and choose a different one. In fact, this is the default where we have a very dark background and the code is light in front of that dark background. Some people like this, some people don't. Doesn't really matter because there's a bunch to choose from and you can just choose whatever works well for you. Okay? And now, view in browser. This is another really nice feature. You know how you're working on your code, you want to see how it looks in the browser? This can make it real easy because you just right-click the page's file name over here and choose View in Browser. It'll open it right up in your web browser. Now I'm working in a real small area here so you can see what's going on, but you'll have more room than this. But what you could do then is keep both the editor and the browser open, and then whenever you make a change in your editor, say you're gonna, I don't know, let's say we're gonna center everything on the page. So I make a change to the body tag here with a little CSS code. Okay, now that doesn't just magically appear over there. I have to save the change first and then pop over to the browser and reload, refresh, and now I see the effect of that change over here in the web browser. And you'll have more room in your own screen for that. I'm just working in a small area so everything's not super tiny in this video. Okay, so what we've been talking about is an editor called VS Code, which is short for Visual Studio Code. In this video, I've pointed out some features of VS Code which I think are especially good for people who are just getting started learning to code. Now, if you just run out to the website now and take a look at the marketing materials, it's actually marketed toward professional programmers, which will just sound like gibberish and gobbledygook to you if you're not up on all the nerd slang yet. Try not to worry about that because it really, really is an excellent tool for people who are just getting started learning to code. And what I'll do is I'll create some tutorials that will take you through it from the standpoint of a non-programmer. And the nice thing about this is that if you learn with Visual Studio Code, like I said, it is a tool for professionals, so you'll never really have to upgrade to a better editor. This will serve you well for your whole code writing career, no matter what kind of code you decide to write. All right? Thanks for watching. My name is Alan Simpson, and I hope to see you around the net.